I'm having to remake this video because apparently I did something to offend TikTok, so I had to take the last one down. So here we go. My point today is that I've never been quite bought into where John was found on the lawn and how that ties up in relation to Karen actually hitting him with the car. It feels to me that if someone's in reverse and they hit you, you kind of fly backwards. You don't fly sideways. In simplest terms, and I know this is inverted, so let me see if I can do this right. As you're looking at this, pretend that you're in the street and you're looking at the Alberts house. The flagpole is over here, right? It's in the front left part of the lawn as you're looking at the house. So the flagpole's over here. So what they're saying is that Karen drove forward and she went essentially in front of the neighbor's house. And then she threw it, John was standing here, she threw it in reverse and she came and hit him. And as she hit him with that back right corner bumpers, right? It's the passenger back side that he flew really perpendicular, not quite perpendicular, but he flew almost sideways onto the lawn instead of being kind of pushed backwards and kind of going more at an angle. And I've never quite figured that out. I thought, how do you hit somebody like this and have them go this way? Now, I admit, again, I'm catching up. So I've very recently just gone and listened to some of Matt McCabe's testimony that he gave during the trial. And one of the things that Alan Jackson asked him about was the tire tracks that he said he saw on the ground that night that were in relation to a possible three-point turn. So again, if you're looking at the house, you remember that the McCabes pulled out of the driveway and they headed south, which means they would go past the flagpole where John apparently was, right? What he told the police when he was asked for a witness statement was that as they were driving, he noticed in the street that there were tire tracks that in the snow that could have been in relation to a three-point turn. So let me explain why this is important. And thank you, Google, for this, how to do a three-point turn. So if it were true, so pretend this is Karen right here, and John is standing at the back of her car, okay? John gets out and he's standing like on the sidewalk. Essentially, this theory makes sense if she went to turn around and go the other way. So if she were, instead of going south down the road, which is the direction she was parked in, if she were to turn around and go north. So what this is saying is as she was reversing, and you see here in the second picture, is it possible she hit John there, which would have thrown him into the lawn? Right? This theory makes sense. And then not knowing she hit him, she would then turn and drive away because she had no idea she hit him. And then unfortunately and accidentally left him to die in the yard. This theory all makes sense. And when Matt McCabe is saying that as he was driving by, he saw these types of tire marks in the street, which would coincide with a three-point turn. So that was the early reports. I honestly had heard that theory way back in the beginning when she was first arrested. People were saying she accidentally reversed into him as she was turning around. Call this a three-point turn. They had said that she'd accidentally hit him and then drove away not realizing she'd hit him. This theory actually matches for an accidental death. But when it got ratcheted up to a murder charge, instead what they said was, well, no, instead what she did was she went down to the neighbor's house. She was 62 feet away. She started thinking about how angry she was when a month earlier in Aruba, they got into an argument because she thought maybe he had kissed somebody else. And so she's still pissed and now she's drunk and now she's going to get her revenge. So she throws it in reverse. She comes back 62 feet. She hits him. That's their theory. And the dynamics of this, like I'm sure there's some measurements and some different things you could watch. In fact, I'm going to give you a person whose videos to go watch. But if you go this way, I feel like you go this way and the body goes a different direction. I don't feel like you hit here, the body goes here. But if she's reversing and she reverses into him, that makes sense how the body goes there. But that three-point turn theory had to go out the window the minute they needed it to be a murder charge, because accidental death wasn't enough for them. They needed it to be a murder charge, so they'd rather chalk her up to be a crazy drunk woman who intentionally ran him over. Now, this person right here, I'm going to give you her name. They won't let me post her videos. I tried, and that's why my TikToks keep getting taken down. She has some really great videos. She's a 3D reenactor person, and she's done a lot of different crime scenes, but she has at least 3 videos on her site where she has done reenactments of that night. But even one of her videos, she shows a reenactment of Karen backing into John, and it shows John kind of going back like this, and it shows him actually kind of flipping over and coming down and hitting his head on the sidewalk. not being thrown into the yard. If you're thrown into the yard, what the hell do you hit your head on? You're in the snow. So it makes more sense that he would have tumbled and hit his head on the sidewalk, giving him that big bump. But that's nowhere in the reports. They don't want it to be that way because John's body is over there and they need to find a way that he got there. Alan Jackson is onto them because he realizes in the very beginning this was, maybe she was making a three-point turn. Maybe this was an accident. She's quoted as saying, did I do something? I hope I didn't. Oh no, I hope I didn't hit him. And then suddenly it becomes, she's a murderer. She hit him. She admitted to hitting him. She was filled with rage and she slammed into him going backwards in her car. They've ratcheted this up from statements, initial statements to the grand jury to now. And Alan Jackson, I think, did a really nice job of cornering Matt McCabe on this on the stand because he asked about that three-point turn. He's like, why would you mention that there were those tracks in the road? It's because originally this was being presented, possible an accidental hitting and killing of John. They really must hate Karen Read because they keep ratcheting up the stories. And each time they're called to talk about it, it gets more and more nasty toward her. It makes her look worse and worse and worse each time. And I'm thankful that Alan Jackson is catching on to all of this. I think he knows what they're doing. He can clearly see it. I just hope the jury sees it. You and I see it. All my comments, everyone's like, how is this even at trial? Why isn't there a mistrial? How did they get away with this? I hope that the jury feels the same way. I really do, because I think there's reasonable doubt everywhere. And we have yet to see the prosecution actually give us a simulated model of that night. They've never once said, well, here's our version of what happened. Here's the model. Here's the reenactment. They've never once given us that. So we'll see if they do it when we're back in trial this week or maybe next week. I'm sure Alan Jackson will be ready to pull it apart.